spoke these words many years ago. Down we forget as up we grow. When children listen to what they need to know, speak on the side of love. Hi, I'm Pam Larratt, a lover of justice, of freedom, and of truth. I often find myself saying things that are only partially true about American democracy. I mean, we have a great society and a great country, and yet so many things are and have been fundamentally wrong. The criminal justice system is one that we're focusing on today, and it is broken. Many people have commented on how bad and how wrecked the system of criminal justice is. I've never been able to stay quiet, however, on matters of injustice. So when I met Victoria Thorpe, who asked me to write a song about her sister who was wrongly convicted and sent to death row, I was thrilled. And that's pretty much why I wanted to get the word out about what happened to this sister, Kerry Lyn Dalton, and why she should be free. And Victoria, who has just returned from her journey for freedom, will tell you all about it right after the song. Here's a song for Kerry Lyn Dalton, who would not play the game or lie on the stand. The law brought her all the way down to death row to cover the blood on their hands. Away down south in San Diego County, the year was 1988. The people demanded an accounting for the bodies on highway number 8. It took 7 years to build an empty trial. No body, no blood stains, no crime scene, no guns. Kerry Lyn never harmed a soul on the highway. Justice waits for the guilty one. Now the courts are filled with bribes and corruption, from the judge to the prosecutor, down to the police. So many wrongful executions on death row, and many more have been released. 17 years locked up in California, in a cage that measured 6 feet by 10. By day she sleeps to hide from all the pain. At night she lives for freedom again. No matter how far she goes, no matter how long she's gone, you never forget your sister's smile. You'll be out at your window pane when she runs up your road again. Sister, it's been a long, long while. Oh, sister, you said just a little while. Oh, but it's been a long, long while.
Excuse me, Pam's song really affected me, so let me pull myself together a moment. I've heard it before, but it's something to hear her singing it. Let me start with this. That will help me get back on balance here. May 23rd of 1995, I sat in a frigid courtroom listening to a scripted dissertation slide easily from the Honorable Judge Thomas J. Whelan's lips. I hope your witnesses were sincere and that you have found God. I hope that he forgives you. The meticulously groomed, silver-haired man in a perfectly creased, shimmering black robe peered over the top of his glasses and turned his head just an inch to his left as he spoke directly at the defendant. His melodramatic words followed the pronouncement that he was upholding the sentence to kill my sister. The reality of what that entailed was only just settling in. I'd watched a complete farce from beginning to end come to its conclusion, and I realized I would never be safe. My family was not safe. The system did not work. There were no checks and balances in place to ensure justice was served for all. This could happen to anyone without enough money to fight back. How do innocent people end up on death row? The subject is normally so far removed from the average person's life, concerns, and interests, its insignificance affords it little attention. Through my personal experience of living with the capital case brought against my sister, Kerry Lyn Dalton, it will be revealed that our justice system does not always work. As a matter of fact, it is riddled with mistakes and personal agendas. That is how a case like this can lead to death row, a case with no body, no weapon, no blood, no crime scene. As a matter of fact, the alleged murder victim had not even been declared deceased during the trial, as the judge pointed out to his jury. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, in the last question Mr. Dusek, who is the prosecutor, asked, he mentioned that Melanie May, in this case, is deceased. That's a fact for you to decide. It's inappropriate for him to put that in question, whether or not Miss May is in fact deceased or not, because that's something for you to decide. And that's a quote from the judge during the trial while my sister was being prosecuted for the death penalty, directly from the judge. I am Victoria Thorpe, sister of Kerry Lyn Dalton, and I'm still trying to gather myself, sorry. She was sentenced to be executed in May of 1995. We were assured the appeals would go quickly. Within 3 years, it would be overturned, and she would be free. It was a fluke. It shouldn't have happened. Since she was arrested in May of 1992, I have been involved in her case, the hearings, the investigations, and the trial. And as of yet, 17 and a half years later after she was convicted, she is still on death row and still waiting for appeals. We grew up together. We played together. We shared hopes and fears with each other. We fought sometimes. We argued. We were sisters. But we're very, very close, very bonded, and we still are. And she's the closest, most closest kindred spirit that I have, most gentle, wonderful person I love very much. I knew nothing of the system back then, and many of you probably don't know a lot about it, and especially at this level. Not many of us have to have a reason to look into it. There are about 3,200 people living on death row, so the family members, friends and family of those makes us persons like me, about 1 in every 100,000 citizens have to experience this system. Many of them fall away, run away. They don't only stigmatize the defendant, but the family is part of the shame and the fear and the judgment, the harshness from not just the court system, but the citizens around. This journey for freedom came about rather quickly. The journey started with a visit to my sister in death row in California. 2 armed guards bring her out in shackles, chained to her waist, her legs chained together. They release her and lock us both in a room together so that no one else will be harmed. We always start with a huge hug. That's all they let us have, and end with a hug. We laugh a lot. We cry. We have wonderful memories, and we talk about the future. And she is so thrilled that I believe in her and haven't left her. I did for a period of time, just trying to survive, but she is so thrilled that everyone out here, so many people, are listening and trying, and so are the other ladies on the row with her. I am wearing pretty much what I did for 17 and a half days. I wore shorts a lot because in California it's very hot. I even had one person say, "Do we still have the death penalty?" California has 700 men on death row and 220 women. This journey was to bring attention, to humanize this situation. Like I felt Dr. Seuss's story, Horton Hears a Who, came to me in a different light than it used to as a child. If you will hear the calls of all those who've been convicted of capital crimes as you listen to this story this time, maybe it'll sound a little different. Since my sister's case and being on her side and loving her and knowing exactly what went wrong, I have learned through my investigations that there are many, many folks in the system that have been taken advantage of and are losing their lives in one way or another. And so now I am a voice like Horton, run around trying to say, these are real people. They have real hearts and souls, and we can't just be hurting them and throwing them away. There's got to be another way. So that's how Horton got into this. From that speck on that clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They proved they are persons, no matter how small, and their whole world was saved by the smallest of all. And I feel that little dust speck, these people, they don't have voices from most of the country to hear, especially those on death row. They're just really, really tucked away and locked away. So I wanted to share, as I did in my book, my sister. That's why she's here. Bring the human side, as Horton was trying to share with the kangaroos and the monkeys who were just frightened and angry and thinking there's one way to deal with this, get rid of it. And so I did this on foot, representing my sister's journey, trying to survive on death row, where you are treated as though you are not alive, where she is actually locked up in a cage. And my book is called Cages, but not just for her, for my own personal cages, and for those, as I share the story of her trial and her life and what happened, their personal issues, whether it's ambition or drug addiction or a cruel childhood. There's many things that hold us back. And when we are called to a direction we're not comfortable with, as I am here, you must step out. Horton stepped out. I feel a lot like Horton many times. And that just came to me a few months ago. I don't know why he came to mind. But if you try, you can make a difference. And that's one of the reasons I walked and why I'm here today, is to ask for each voice, each person, as the little who in Whoville made a difference. Every little bit that you participate in caring about your brethren, your fellow human being, will make a difference. And I would love to get some more help in this particular area. My sister is wrongfully convicted, but I have met many people in the system who have done the crimes that they are convicted of, and they are still people. They are still human beings worthy of love. And another thing that Mark Furman actually says in his book, in his words, He says even a scumbag, was his word, deserves to be treated fairly and justly, not framed and not tortured. He's a person too, and a person who actually was brave enough to look into the death penalty in depth and change his mind publicly and passionately for what he believes. In my sister's case, no evidence whatsoever, drug addicts involved, hearsay testimony, and then finally a co-defendant succumbed to pressure and testified against her to get a plea deal. And this often happens in cases, plea deals. It was 6.5 years later after the alleged murder. They waited, my sister waited nearly 3 years in jail before they tried her. It took 2 years to get this co-defendant to turn on her. There's a lot of issues that are behind these things. Why do this case? There was a reason for the police, the law enforcement in San Diego, to deter attention from their own issues. There was a serial murder going on that they were implicated in. And one of the first quotes from a prosecutor was, he's hoping that this will lead them to another direction and away from the police. That was never solved. There was insufficient evidence dropped against the police. One police officer was fired. A couple others were demoted or shifted around, and then it all went away. So that's a very complicated case with a lot of corruption. And in the book, I use the trial transcripts, so I don't tell you my opinion or what I saw. I quote exactly from the trial what happened, so you can see for yourself how a trial goes. And also, I include my sister's life in my life. Our childhood, our growing up together, our differences, our different directions. She went off one way, became addicted. I went off another way and became addicted to substances. I became addicted to my faith and closed-minded. So we led different lives, but kind of the same. So what we're trying to do is get the death penalty system changed because it's too big for us to conquer. Again, like Horton, all those Wickersham brothers ganging up, even though he's so big and like he has the truth, can't do it alone. We need to change the system, and we need more voices to do that. So everyone here can be part of that. And in Washington State, we are trying to replace the death penalty with life without parole so that we will stop the killing. My sister's case, she happens to be innocent. I was in on the hearings, the trial, the investigations. I've been investigating for years. But because of her, I've learned, as Mark Furman did, that we have no right to judge and kill others and torture them along the way and take their lives. I use my sister's case as a great example to try to attract attention to all the things that can go wrong. Almost everything went wrong in her case. In May of 1992 is when she was arrested with 2 other co-defendants. And so since then, we have been going through this, living this. So that's about 20 years. And 17 and a half of those years were on death row. Part of the journey was to symbolically carry my sister's burden with me, but also to share it with as many people as I could, whether it was people I met as I'm walking or to let people know ahead of time where I was and talk to groups of people. Started out 92 degrees in Fresno. It was a great start too, though, because the Center for Nonviolence welcomed me, and the news crew, local channel 47, came out to talk with me about it and with them, and it was a great send-off. And the ladies where Kerry lives in the cage on death row in California, there's 20 of them, and one of them had a little TV that they saw the news, and they were all very excited. She called me when she could a couple days later, and everyone was so thrilled that somebody out there knew they were there. It was very touching. You never know where you're going to find an answer or a lead to help free your loved one. And then I have also gathered other loved ones along the way who live on death row, as much as I try to not right now, because it is a big job just to concentrate on one case. And I do hope to continue working once my sister is free, and her case is reversed. She's exonerated. I think the answer is that we need to care about each other, which obviously I'm sure all you folks think of that and feel that and remember it. But those that are incarcerated are separated and forgotten and thrown away and judged. Myrta also mentioned demonizing, stigmatizing, calling them monsters, evil. A person's a person, and very often they are hurt or injured, those who hurt others and lash out. And we do and should keep ourselves safe, but we should not commit the same kind of atrocities that we say are wrong to those who have been found guilty of creating violence. Violence begets violence. We have many voices that are trying to be heard, but like in the story, your voice is important. This is what I'm hoping today, that everyone will learn a little something and be moved to continue to learn and to be a little bit active, at least, if not very active, in our society and in changing it to peace and love and promotion. Use our resources for good and not evil. Our resources are being used up to prosecute and to cage people and then to finally kill them, but their lives are being stolen along the way. Justice Blackmun said in 1994 that we've tinkered long enough with the system, and yet we're still doing it. Justice Stevens has changed his mind and outwardly speaks against the death penalty. Judge Trott, law professors, various retired law enforcement, not just Mark Furman, but Scott Turow is a writer who's an ex-prosecutor, and he helped Illinois change their system so that the death penalty is no longer enacted, because he was part of the commission that reviewed how the system works and really how it doesn't. And each one of these people also got to know someone personally, so the facts and the emotions come together. And also there's Judge Fletcher in California. Well, he's on the Ninth Circuit. He wrote a 101-page dissent to say he's against what the circuit decided on a Kevin Cooper case. It's not just my sister's case. He said they know that the sheriffs have planted evidence in his case, and the prosecutor, the DNA, and they also destroyed evidence, and yet he is not getting an appeal. This is just another example of they're not being heard. There's something wrong along the way. And I had another quote from Mark Furman. One of the things he learns was that in the death penalty, more things go wrong than at any other level of the system because of the motivation and the pressure for careers and the money that's involved, et cetera. There's more misconduct, and the mistakes are a higher risk when you're taking somebody's life or you're locking them away for 10, 20 years and then finding out you made the mistake. You can't give that back to them. Mr. Furman said, "Every murder is heinous, atrocious, and cruel. By executing the innocent, we have committed an act that is just as heinous, atrocious, and cruel ourselves." And we know we have killed innocent people in the United States. In my career as a detective, both as a police officer and as an author, I've always followed the evidence wherever it led. My investigation of the death penalty in Oklahoma County has brought me to this conclusion: death penalty cases are not investigated or prosecuted at a level that can guarantee justice, or even that the accused is actually guilty. I no longer believe in the death penalty. I no longer have faith that it is administered fairly or justly. I fear that innocent people have been executed, and that's why I am calling for the abolition of the death penalty, not only in Oklahoma, but in every state. So I wanted you to know that it's not without hope. There are ways to change this. First, we need to acknowledge it, accept it, and go forward to make some corrections. One big correction in the system would be that prosecutors would be held accountable. Right now they have full immunity. So even if they choose to purposefully have someone perjure themselves, remove evidence, etc., if it's purposeful, if it's illegal, they are immune. So just simply changing that and saying accountability, just like you, me, doctors, everybody, if you do something illegal, it should be looked at. But there is no level of being able to address that for prosecutorial misconduct. So that's something we can change. That's hands-on. It will stop many of the problems with wrongful convictions in the future. We can lessen that. And then there's the snitching issue, and that's a big thing in my sister's case also, besides the prosecution. We have very many Brady violations. That means there was information kept away from the defense that would show that my sister was not a murderer, that there wasn't even a murder, actually. But once you're in the system, it's really, really hard to reverse it. And as a society, we need to help and care for each other more and separate those who don't play nice, is an easy way to say it, but do it gently and caring. And it also will cost us less money, less taxes to do this the right way, the caring way. And it will pay for all of society to help each other become loving people. And if those can come back in society, some cannot. So I would ask that we would all please look into this. And in Washington State, we have safe and just alternatives. Keep everyone safe. Keep us safe from violent criminals. Keep the violent criminals safe. Understand them with life without the possibility of parole. And it will also save you money. It costs a lot more for us to have death penalty cases and death penalty appeals and then find out we did something wrong also and it was a waste of time. We need to take away that career-building carrot. It's used as, look how tough on crime I am and I've kept you safe. I've got a murderer. We're going to kill him and you'll never be threatened again. It's just not the truth and the facts. So please, I'd like to ask you all to reach into your hearts and think about if your sister, if your loved one was in this situation, what would you do? Everybody out there is somebody's son or daughter or sister or loved one in some way. Please understand and open your hearts and choose forgiveness and compassion instead of revenge and anger and fear.